And we are back with the fourth segment of the GSMC Sports Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this segment, we are going to be talking about the Rams game against the Lions. The Rams, they played against the Lions yesterday night for Monday Night Football. And the outcome of this game was rather unexpected for me, at least, because I thought that the Rams were going to end up winning this game, and they ultimately proved that they ultimately did not. Like, that's really all I can say about that. I mean, the Dolphins and their defense in this matchup, they were very, very, very solid. Like, the defense, and I was very, very surprised with how dominant the Dolphins were on the defensive side of the ball. Usually, they're much more dominant on the offensive side of the ball, with Tua and Tyreek Hill being a very formidable squad. But so far in this season, I mean, Tyreek Hill has really, really fallen off. Remember last year when his peers voted that he was the best player in the NFL? That did not last long at all. And I mean, the numbers for Tyreek Hill in this season, they're less than mediocre. I mean, when you look at the rest of his stats that he's been putting up in previous seasons compared to now, it's really, really bad. I mean, he only has 462 yards, receiving yards this season, compared to last season where he ended with 1,799. And he also has only 37 receptions compared to last two seasons where he had 119, which is honestly insane. But again, the fall off is dramatic, and a lot of these games have been very lackluster. The only game where he actually looked like Tyreek Hill was in the first game that the Dolphins played against the Jaguars, where he had 7 catches and 130 yards and also a touchdown. But he did end the game with a touchdown. I will say that. He had 3 receptions with 16 yards, and he ended the game with 1 touchdown. So there's something. And this game between the Dolphins and the Rams, it was rather boring. Like, I was really, really bored watching this game. Why? Because there were so many punts and so many turnovers. Like, it was just a punt fest going on in the first quarter. Like, Miami, they opened up with a touchdown, then the Rams punt, then Miami punted, then the Rams punted, then Miami punted, then Matt Stafford decided to be such a nice guy and throw an interception and give Miami the ball back, and then Miami answered with a field goal, and then right after that, guess what happens next? It goes back to punting. Rams punt. This time, Tua decides to be nice and throw an interception, and then guess what? The Rams decide to fumble. But guess what? The Dolphins decide to fumble the ball right back. And then guess what happens next? More kicking. The Rams, they get a field goal to make the score 10-3. Then the Miami Dolphins decide to punt. Then the Rams decide to take another field goal to make the score 10-6, and that was the entirety of the first half. Very, very, very boring, and like very few offense in this game, like very little offense in this game, and like it wasn't exciting at all. Like I thought the Panthers and Giants game was bad. Like that was Jesus. I really should have held my tongue for this one, but again, like this was just a very, very boring first half going into this game, and Tua really has to be careful with with his head. I'm sorry, but it's like that helmet. I don't think that helmet is going to protect him much for long. Like there is a serious, serious danger with Tua possibly getting another concussion. It's almost as if he wants to get another concussion. I don't know what it is, but it's like this. Like there was this one play where I saw Tua Tagovailoa, like he was trying to make a tackle, and of course he goes head first into a guy's knee. Like that sound, not only does that sound like it hurts, but like that is also very dangerous. Like Tua should really, really wear a guarding cap. Like this is bad. This is really bad. And this only goes to show that the Miami Dolphins should have ended up drafting Justin Herbert anyway. I mean, I remember like on draft night, and I remember like a few weeks after that there were a bunch of Miami executives that would have much rather had Justin Herbert being drafted as opposed to Tua Tagovailoa. And I think right now, those people are just right. I mean, like this is just Justin Herbert, he doesn't really suffer as much injuries. I'm not going to say that Herbert is really playing all that well. However, the Chargers, they did turn around their season from the starts of it. And while I will say that, again, a big reason isn't necessarily because Herbert is playing well, because he's not. But still, they're winning games, and it doesn't really matter how you win games. What matters is that you win them. And let's go ahead and move into the second half of this game. Now, the second half of this game was a little bit more offense. I mean, the Rams, they led a nine-play drive which ended in a missed field goal, and then the Dolphins decided to score a touchdown on a 6-play drive to make the score 17-6. And then in the fourth quarter, it's a kicking contest. Not even a kicking contest. It was like a 3-point contest. Rams hit a field goal, then the Dolphins hit a field goal, Rams hit another field goal, guess what, the Dolphins hit another field goal, and guess what, the Rams hit another field goal, and guess what, the Dolphins end the game. So that's really how the second half went. It was so boring. Like, it was like, I could have never been more bored in my life. I'm like, put the ball in the end zone already. But neither one of those teams could do that. All the teams, they ended up holding firm towards the end of the game and in the red zone. So, defense, yeah, I know. Defense is always, it's pretty impressive. But again, it's like, put the ball in the end zone. And I mean, one of the plays was 11 plays. Like, in fact, both teams to start out the quarter opened up with 11-play drives that just ended in field goals. And it's just like, come on, put the ball in the end zone already. I mean, it's way more than what my Giants can do, that's for sure. But again, it's like, Jesus, this game was boring. It was turnover prone, and there's not really much that can be said about this game because of how ugly it was. But that's really all that I have to say, because again, this game is just like, it was punt, turnover. Ooh, another turnover. Wait a minute, let's turn the ball over again. Oh, wait, let's let the other team turn the ball over. And then it goes back to punt, then it goes to a 3-point contest. Like, it's, just a little bit boring. But that's all that I really have to say about this game, because again, it was like I was trying to stay awake for a majority of this game. There was at one point where I think I just dozed off, honestly. Like, it was just very, very boring. But that's football. That's the way it goes. Sometimes you get some fantastic games like the Bengals against the Ravens. That was a great game. There were so many touchdowns. And then some other games, you get games like this where it's just turnover, punt, field goal. So that's just the way that it goes. Now, the Dolphins, with this win, they move up to 3-6, which is good enough to be as the second team in the entire AFC East, I believe. Let me just go ahead and double check. Yes, they are. The Jets, they're 3-7. Unbelievable. The Patriots are also 3-7, more believable than that. And with this loss, the Rams end up moving down in their standings, so they're just below the 49ers now. If they would have won this matchup, then they would have been tied with the same record as the 49ers to make the NFC West a little bit more competitive, but that's that. That's all she wrote in this matchup. And we're going to have to see how the rest of the season plays out. I have no idea if the Dolphins are going to try to make a playoff push going into the rest of these games. So let's go ahead and look at their schedule real quick. They do play the Raiders on Sunday. Then they also play the Patriots next. Then they play the Packers. Then they play the Jets. And then they play the Texans, the Niners, the Browns. And then the Jets again. Honestly, they could make a playoff push. They could. They could try to make a playoff push. The Raiders, they aren't really that competent. I can see them beating them with Tagovailoa, but we'll see. We have no idea. The Pats, again, another team that's rather incompetent. I don't expect the Miami Dolphins to blow that one. The Packers is going to be a tough challenge. Same thing with the Texans, but before they play the Texans, they play the Jets, which again, the Jets are the Jets. It's illegal for the Jets to have a good quarterback, and the Jets are just not the franchise that I thought that they were going to be this season. So, in fact, you know what? I might do a segment later on talking about the Jets and my opinions on the Jets and all of that stuff, because I'm sure you guys have not heard my opinion on the Jets and things like that. But that's it for this fourth segment. So now we're going to go ahead and go into the fifth segment, where I give a recap of all of the NBA games that went down yesterday, because there were a couple, and I love talking about basketball. So I'll be right back after this short break. Be sure to stay tuned.